Today we're checking out some more Star Trek The Next Generation Season 5.
The Enterprise has been diverted to the Moab sector to track a stellar core fragment of a disintegrated neutron star.
Oh my god, cool.
Asked to monitor the planetary disruptions it may cause.
Wearing his jacket. Dang, he looks cool.
We didn't anticipate there would be someone living there.
An artificial environment has been constructed on the southern continent, sir.
An artificial environment?
Channel open.
On screen.
This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
The one and only.
Your planet is about to experience massive seismic disruptions due to an approaching stellar core fragment. No structure will be able to withstand them.
Heed this warning.
They are responding.
Let's see.
Enterprise.
Oh.
I am Aaron Connor. I don't want to be rude, Captain. We don't wish to interact with outsiders.
Wow.
As a result, when it passes Moab 4, it will cause tectonic shifts well beyond 8.7 on the Richter scale.
You're gonna die.
Evacuate your people.
Evacuate. That is not possible.
Would you like to come aboard to discuss it?
Our environment is sealed. No one can get in or out.
What is with them? Are they doing experiments or something?
Permit a small delegation from your ship inside the biosphere.
Okay.
If only to see this matter-energy transportation you speak of.
It's quite something to see.
What is that? It's them. Look at this, Martin.
Can you imagine? They're obviously not as advanced. Just isolated here? He doesn't like it. Okay. This is odd. What are they doing? Why won't they heed this warning? Pop, 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 pop. Woohoo! Okay, let's do it. Dang, I love that theme song.
You see, this is an engineered society. Genetically engineered. They believe that through controlled procreation, they could create people without flaws.
Oh my.
Physically, psychologically, we have evolved beyond
Y'all.
us.
Didn't invent energy transport though.
No one in this society would be blind, for example. No offense intended.
I can see you just fine, sir.
He can see right through you, man.
Perhaps you've also made it clear there are still a few imperfections we're working on.
But flaws are necessary.
The balance of our society won't mean a great deal, will it?
This guy doesn't like it one bit, but yeah, you're about to be wiped out.
Think of it another way. Are there still people in your society who have not yet discovered who they really are or what they were meant to do with their lives? They may be great poets working as laborers.
Sure, but I mean, I kind of like that part of it. If you're a good poet, you just get to be a poet.
I'd like to stay and see more of his colony.
I'd like you to see it.
Breaker to Enterprise. 1 to beam up. Energize.
Locked eye contact with her, though.
I sometimes think that strict interpreters like Martin have forgotten we're still human. We'll adjust, accommodate.
There must be other unexpected events you have to deal with.
Right? They're the first people they've ever encountered.
I'm something of a student of human nature, and I find this all fascinating. I'm the ship's counselor.
Ah, I'm afraid you wouldn't find much work here, Counselor.
Everyone's perfect.
Your ship. What kind of energy output is it capable of generating?
We have a matter-antimatter warp reaction system.
Yeah, you do.
A multi-phase tractor beam.
When we first spotted the fragment approaching, I came up with the idea, but we can't generate the kind of energy we would need.
A multi-phase tractor beam?
This is a date to note in our history books.
Wow.
This is in direct violation of the intentions of our founders, Aaron.
But it's the only way you survive.
No idea how molecular transport will affect her DNA.
It won't affect her DNA at all. There's been over a century of evidence to prove that.
I can see why they would think it's risky, though. She's gonna love it.
May I return later?
I look forward to it.
Energize.
Just like that, they were forever altered.
If they do not succeed in the next 48 hours, we will need
They
to
must
begin
evacuate.
evacuation.
I believe some will choose to risk death rather than leave.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
They seem to have made it succeed.
Huh. They've given away their humanity with this genetic manipulation.
Yeah, it's very risky.
The uncertainty, self-discovery, the unknown. These are many of the qualities that make life worth living.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, at least to me.
Is this a prime directive situation, then?
This leader of theirs, Connor, he seems to be a reasonable man.
I find him very reasonable.
She likes him.
Open to suggestions, quite disarming. The perfect administrator.
Disarming, that's a good quality to have, yeah.
If we increase the warp power transfer by 80%,
Look at these two sides sticking up.
we won't be able to reinforce a conduit to hold that power level.
I don't think this is gonna work, and they're gonna have to choose.
I haven't had any sleep in so long, my eyelids feel like I have lead weights attached to them.
It's always crazy when he takes that off.
I was born blind. I've always been this way.
May I see it, your visor?
I feel like he must really trust her to take off his visor in front of her.
In your world, I wouldn't even be here now, would I?
No, it was the wish of our founders that no one have to suffer a life with disabilities.
But he's living a good life. He's happy.
To decide whether or not I should be here, whether or not I might have something to contribute.
I don't know what to say.
This is changing her whole philosophy. Meeting someone valuable here who they would have discarded.
How do you avoid a sensory overload?
A bank of preprocessors compresses the data stream into pulses. That way my visual cortex never...
Did they just figure something out? What if we do that to the thingy?
We'd have to avoid tractor force rebounding, but that shouldn't be hard.
Sure, with a few modifications.
Oh, dang.
Oh, that's perfect.
Thank goodness for his visor.
If the answer to all of this is in a visor created for a blind man who never would have existed in your society.
Pretty ironic. Is this Troy and the dude? Are they on a date? She's just a kid. Must have been bred to be a musician. Maybe that'll shock them into wanting to evacuate.
A nursery rhyme my mother used to read to me has been Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
You just can't rebuild it the same way.
I wish I could do something to help.
You have helped. You've been wonderful these past few days. You've been my counselor.
No,
His friend.
I'd rather think of us as friends.
That just won't do either.
Kiss!
I must confess,
I like him for her.
This is wrong.
She's not into it.
terribly wrong.
Oh, she is into it. Yeah, this is the first kiss besides Riker that I like for her.
Won't be able to move the fragment as far as we'd like to, but
But if we also fortify the biosphere's structural integrity,
They can withstand the earthquake.
of course, we'll have to lend them some of our engineering support crews.
Make it so.
Advise Mr. Connor. Number one, brief the appropriate officers. Prepare them for transport as soon as Mr. Connor approves. Yes, sir.
Good job, guys.
You're up early.
She stayed the night?
I'm going back to the ship. I'm not going to see you again.
Why?
It's too painful.
You know it as well as I do.
You're angry.
Yes, I'm angry. I'm angry with myself for allowing this to happen.
Troy.
I could fall in love with you so easily.
I knew it.
But we both know the end of that story, don't we?
I mean, I don't think they can be together.
If we have to evacuate, anything's possible.
That's true. The experiment there is pretty much over.
Listen to yourself. A few days ago, you wouldn't even talk to us.
She doesn't like that he's given up his principles.
I need you here. This doesn't have to happen again.
I have to go.
Troy is a little bit afraid of love.
We'll need to bring down engineering crews from the Enterprise to work with your people for the next 48 hours. We have to install 5 new shield generators and power supplies.
50
Quickly.
officers are waiting for your approval to transport down.
50. That will certainly change things, right? Well, if the society can be saved, I guess they can't be together. Doesn't Troy ever get to find love?
Good luck.
You too.
Engage tractor beam.
Let's go. Science.
390% over standard.
Come on, come on.
Maybe it isn't going to work.
Now we're getting there.
Fragments move 0.4 degrees off its previous heading. 0.65. It's working.
Okay. Oh.
We have lost one of the emitter circuits, sir.
Life support failure. Decks 9, 12, and 13.
Life support failure?
We've lost the second lateral emitter circuit.
Losing life support systems on decks 5 through 9.
Evacuate.
Evacuation procedures initiated.
I don't know if this is going to work.
1.2. We've got it.
Okay.
Life support normal on all decks.
Cutting it close again.
I cannot adequately express my appreciation to your crew. Is Hannah able to hear me? We look forward to honoring you appropriately when you return.
Is she going to
Thank you
return?
again, Captain. Connor out.
It's so hard for people to see such amazing science and then just return home. But I don't know if she has a family or... Doesn't seem like she wants to go. Commercial break.
Would you tell Deanna Troy for me that I'm sorry I didn't get the opportunity to say goodbye first?
I'm sure she'll feel the same way.
A breach in the biosphere.
Oh, a breach!
Apparently, the refortification wasn't adequate. There's definite structural damage. It appears that the tectonic shifts created a breach.
Are they gonna have to evacuate anyway?
Unless we seal it and fast, we may have to evacuate.
Oh,
Based
my.
on the level of toxicity I'm reading, it may only be a matter of hours.
Mind if I give her a hand, Commander?
By all means.
This is not expected.
Why are you doing this?
What do you mean?
There's no breach.
Is she
What are you
faking?
talking about? Look at it, it's right here.
He knows, though. She wants to evacuate.
Why are you doing this?
For science.
I was born to be one of the best scientific minds of my generation.
She wants to go where the science is.
All of us on this colony have been living in the Dark Ages. Till you came, all we could see was to the wall of our biosphere. Suddenly, our eyes have been opened.
I mean, they can't ever go back, right?
The science teams that went down to the surface fielded a lot of questions from the colonists who were more than curious about what's outside their world.
Interesting.
The society is genetically integrated. Suddenly there would be gaps, missing pieces.
It would destroy them.
There must be something we can do to help.
I mean, they've already interfered, though.
Counselor, I think it's time you took me to meet Mr. Connor.
Computer halt.
She's gonna tell him the truth about her feelings?
Connor and I have had a relationship. It should never have happened. I knew there was concern about outside influences, and I should have been more careful.
What's he gonna say?
Would you prefer not to return to the surface?
No, I think I should come with you, but I wanted you to know before we went down.
I appreciate that.
He has nothing else to say?
I should have walked away as soon as I saw what was happening.
It's okay.
But you didn't. That's human.
Right? Yes.
We make mistakes.
Exactly. Maybe it was poor judgment, but
The welfare of this colony would be best served by rejoining the human race.
She has been contaminated by the people on that ship.
no, her mind has been blown. It cannot be unblown.
You made decisions you felt would save your colony.
I wish it were that simple. You see, Captain, I know what Hannah Bates is feeling.
He wants to go too.
If even a handful leave, the damage to this society will be devastating. What about the rights of those who would stay behind? They are the ones who will inherit the social chaos that will follow for generations.
I mean, it's already been disrupted, though.
We are witnessing the end of this existence.
Maybe.
I implore you, Captain, do not let this happen.
It already has.
I will urge them not to make an impulsive choice, but if finally they choose to leave, the Enterprise will not turn them away.
I wonder. I think some will leave.
In a few generations, we will
We're
be
not
able to...
willing to stay here a few generations.
All right. Give me 6 months.
To what? Just time to think?
You should take adequate time to weigh carefully the consequences of what you're about to do.
It is a big decision.
We are prepared to return in 6 months.
In other words, we are being asked to stay here for 6 months while they pressure us to change our minds.
Maybe.
Would you ever choose to live aboard a ship in a bottle, Captain? You are in command of a starship. You live to explore the unknown. We ask for that same privilege.
I was going to say the word privilege earlier when he was talking.
You are the ones causing pain and anguish in this colony.
Don't you see, Aaron? It's over. It's time for you to lead our people into a new era. You could come with us.
I don't know what's going to happen here.
Hundreds of genetically compatible women. I would fall in love with you.
Don't say that.
Perhaps it's your imperfections which make you so unique.
See? Yes.
But I am in love with you, Deanna Troy.
Oh, my.
And I will always be.
I knew it. This is sad. They can't be together. I thought that was the end for a second.
We are responsible.
We had to respond to the threat of the core fragment,
I mean, they
didn't we?
saved them, but
But in the end, we may have proved just as dangerous to that colony as any core fragment could ever have been.
yeah, maybe. But they couldn't just not do anything. The end. Abrupt. Poor Deanna. I want them all to fall in love, but I just don't think they ever will. Okay, that was season 5, episode 13. And when it comes to episodes dealing with the Prime Directive, I always feel I feel both sides of the argument coming at me from comments. And I think this episode did do some work to try and show both sides of the argument of should you, if you come across a society that you don't agree with, or you think is wrong, or you think you know a better way, do you have the right to just change them? Is it the right thing to do that? I mean, I think that's a question worth asking, whether you really believe in the Prime Directive or not. I think that question is worth asking. But I do fall more on the side of, you know, in this episode they made it very clear, actually. They had Geordi and Troi both showing how a society needs flaws. It needs spontaneity. It needs to not just operate so that everything is perfect and every person is perfect. That gets rid of so much that is important in existence. The Geordi plot with his blindness, talking to the scientist, that was very outright, you know. He wouldn't exist in their society, and that is sad. I mean, it's as simple as looking at that and you see how much they miss out on. And then Troi falling in love with the leader. I mean, I feel like people probably aren't that into this plotline, but I actually really liked it. And we haven't really got to see Troi have very many romances besides her moments with Riker, which I do think work on the show, and they have really good chemistry, but she hasn't really had, to me, believable chemistry with any guest stars that she's supposed to be kind of hooking up with or being romantic with. I haven't really been that into it, but I was into this one, and I do think it was used well in this episode just to show that, like he said, even if you engineer people to be perfect matches, in the end his heart wanted something else. You can't account for things like spontaneously having attraction to someone else. It's not predictable, and that's some of the best parts of life, and it's just a really strong argument for not having a society like the one that they have. I mean, falling in love, that's one of the best things that can happen to you, and it's sad that they didn't get to pursue that, actually, I think. But I just thought it was really nice to use it in this story in this way. Love is not predictable. You can't breed that a certain way, I don't think, personally, and I think the show was kind of saying that as well. So yeah, I think this one brought up a lot of interesting questions. I'd be interested to know what you guys think. Again, I think that there's a lot of opinions on the Prime Directive in general, and I'm open to both sides. I like thinking about the argument. In certain cases, I do think maybe they should step away and let the society be whatever it wants to be without interference. I think that's maybe fair, or at least worth asking the question. But also then in other cases, I think it's been shown that stepping in is the right thing. So, I mean, I don't think that the Prime Directive is black and white, and I think there are cases for both sides, and I like thinking about both sides. I'm curious to see what happens with the Prime Directive going forward, if the show kind of pivots on it at all, and I'm curious if in the other shows they also address the issue of Prime Directive. Don't give me any spoilers, but you can let me know if the subject of Prime Directive comes up in other shows. That's all I really want to know. I don't want to know how or which side they come down on, but I'm curious if it's still a thing in other shows or if it was just in TOS and then TNG and then they kind of phased it out. I wonder. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I had a great time. I hope you had a great time too, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.